It's giving bitch assness. It's giving bitch assness. Yeah. It's giving bitch assness. It's giving bitch assness. You a bitch ass nigga. I'm sorry, y'all. That's what it's giving. Y'all, exonerated 5. Y'all, we always have to be reminded. Raymond Santana says, although he knew ex-wife Deelishis was cheating, the true bad blood started when she would call the police on him and tried to take him to court for his money and car. Ooh, okay. Let's listen to what they had to say. Even though, like, I'm gonna start off by saying I feel like Eric is a lame ass crybaby nigga. Y'all mistreat women. Women get online and get on reality shows, talk about the mistreatment because they're on a reality show. Like, you signed up to be with women that are on reality shows. So everybody's gonna know your business, right? Okay. But when men, I feel like, decide they want to be bitter and mad because a woman doesn't want them anymore, especially when they cheated on that woman, like Eric, you cheated on Sierra. And ever since then, you cheated too. Did she or did you cheat? And then you found something in her phone, because it probably was a cheat back. It probably was I forgave you over and over again. I got tired of forgiving you. Now it's fuck you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna do what I want to do. And y'all always try to like make it seem as if, oh, she cheat. No. You're not gonna muddy the waters for me, Martell Holt. Okay. The chain of events are the chain of events, honey. But yeah, Eric is giving me bitch ass nigga vibes. Like, you're mad because Sierra doesn't want you, or you're mad because Sierra has coined you a bitch ass nigga, and you lived up to that fact. And now you're online with all of the rest of the He-Man women haters that want somebody to hear them whine about these women. Okay, like, I need to, y'all, where did Deelishis respond? Let me look for, we're gonna listen to what they say, but I want to see Deelishis response.
But I started to see, the behavior started to change. I started to see the shift in the energy, and so I knew that person was no longer with me, right? And so I confronted that. I confronted my partner. I confronted her several times, and I said, "Look, I see it. You're not here no more. You just have to be real with yourself."
Okay, now let me tell y'all something. When Raymond's ass was on that reality show and Deelishis was begging for him to show her attention, begging for the sexual energy, like, it kills me the way it's documentation of these women begging for men to respond, begging for men to be what they need them to be. And the men are like, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to ignore what you need. I'm only going to give it to you as I see fit. Okay? Because they were on a relationship show not long after they got married. So I actually watched her begging him for attention and him not giving it to her. And now you want to get online and do a smear campaign and get a whole bunch of incel thirsty mad because they can't fuck her niggas to come and bash her with you. Like, I feel like that's weak. I just feel like that's weak.
Right. Is this what you want to do? Are you ready for this?
And so, then came with, we had the conversation. We actually sat down, and because I knew already that I was being cheated on. I already knew that was infidelity in the marriage. I never, no matter what they said about me, I never cheated, right?
Right.
I never cheated. I never stepped outside of my marriage. And there was a lot of people that was in this circle who were there. They know the truth. And so at the end of the day, when you decide that you don't want to be a part of it no more, I gotta accommodate.
Right.
Right. I'm an understanding person. I know what it's like to be in a struggle. I know what it's like to come from hard times. I know what it's like to fight, to be a fighter. And if this ain't for you, then it's just not for you. But it still has to move forward. And so for me, it wasn't no bad blood that we decided to go our separate ways. Right. It wasn't. It became bad blood when when you start calling the police on me, right? When you try to call the police on me, when you take me to court, because now you think that you're entitled to some of my money, or you think that I owe you something, right? And this is all documented. I don't gotta lie. There was an actual court date. It's all documented. There's a police report. There's all that. And so now you know, when you decide that you want to go your separate way and you want to go be who you want to be, I can't stop
Right.
that. I gotta let you go. And so, you know, and then it just gets bad because then it's like I said, I had to go to court. You know, I had to go to court, and I had to, you know, because you know she wanted my car, she wanted money, she thought she was entitled to certain things, and you know the judge had to tell her, no, you're not entitled to nothing because all this was established before you got here. So you're
Right.
not entitled to anything. And then the tactics changed from that to when I became a narcissist, a cheater, and a liar. You
They
know,
always go to that, and it's just like I always say it takes two to tango, but the first, you know, it takes one to know one.
yeah.
And that narcissist word is always thrown out so frequently and so fast, it's not even funny.
So you know,
Hold up,
but
y'all.
I
I'm
started to
sorry.
see, the behavior started to change. I started to see the shift in the energy, and so I knew that that person was no longer with me, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah, he's calling her a hoe that called the police on him. He's dog whistling to people that, you know, he's dog whistling to black people. And he's also bashing her in the process. Like this is bashing, calling her, you know, she cheated. So she's a hoe. Girl, not an hour and 41
Mad
minutes.
at her. Yes.
Damn, 5 sisters.
That-
What was your
ooh.
dad?
That I am
Anybody
first of
know
all, I'm
around the
sick
time
of
when she talks about him?
like,
Y'all
Got
seen
it.
this?
that.
Got it.
I've always been that way. So when I picked the man,
Fellas,
it was,
take notes.
yes, like I was drawn in by the intellect or the story. Like I love somebody that has texture to them, because then I can learn something, or even how they articulate that. So Flav had a thing. He's iconic. You know what I'm saying? So the stories, he used to take me in the room. When they done with the cameras, he would roll up and he would smoke, and I could get to talk about Public Enemy.
Right.
The one
So
of the
dope.
members.
Right.
Like,
So dope.
I'm like, yo, this dude is, and I was older. I was the second.
And I want to tell y'all, people really don't give Flav and them the credit for what they did. Like, go and look it up. But like Flavor Flav and them, Public Enemy, like they really made their mark, and they made a huge difference in a positive way. And I feel like people really just don't give them their just due for that. But let's scroll up through, because I want to find the part where she talks about him.
The weight from the pandemic. But
Wait, hold up. I know this Negro
Hold up.
Not bashing. If you're
Okay. This one right here.
just to be with because you're delicious. Like,
and
you know.
that is why it was shocking to me. Because
Yeah, you know, Raymond's a little chubby and like, you know, bald, and he
talking about
he and you know what killed me with Raymond? Damn flip-flops with the no shoes and the white beard, and you would be looking.
You should see my 23-year-old.
You would be looking good. You know what I'm saying? Looking fine.
But you said it yourself. You were sapiosexual. You know what I mean? So sapio. Sorry.
You call me a sap, but
Sorry.
but no, Raymond played a role where I just
role. Okay. It was a mirage.
There you go. If I don't want to make it where I am like, what do you call it?
Bashing.
Yes. You guys
be 100%.
Yeah, we're just
truthful.
having a conversation.
If you're being truthful, it's not bashing. If you being,
I don't want to bash him, and honestly, it ended, and I'm okay with. I'm more than okay. I'm thankful, because had he not left, I would have never, and I would have just been if I was still here, because I started getting to a point where I felt like
numb. Yeah.
Very numb. I was very thin. I was very depressed. I was very I was becoming an introvert. That was not my character.
You were, well, you look good, but you did get very thin. Yeah.
Yes, and I couldn't get into the idea of eating. My husband and I went through a phase where he wasn't attracted to me when I gained the weight from the pandemic. But
wait, hold up. I know this Negro Raymond ain't talking
don't bash that.
about getting thick.
Okay, hold on.
Girl, he got some nerve.
You should have heard what she said. She said, were you not allowed to say certain celebrities' names that you dated or listen to their music in the house? I said, who told you that?
She said, did you talk to my manager?
Private eye investigation.
Wait. JD, but I promise she asked me that.
But wait, when it came to, so he would be he was unattracted to you when you gained a little weight from COVID, which we all gained some
Everybody
weight.
gained weight,
Now, mind you, I'm like super thicker than I was when he met me, and he loved every extra inch of me right now. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to get it off because the man love it, you know? So I cannot believe
it's also because he's Caribbean.
and he wasn't attractive to begin with.
Oh, come on now.
He got the belly. I'm not trying to bash.
I'll say it again.
I'm not trying to bash.
do
But that is the craziest shit I've ever heard.
a fugly, okay?
I mean,
he just wasn't the typical man that people would see
I
attractive
started
women.
to pour into his looks and groom him a different way so that, you know, he.
Oh, I don't know why it's tripping on me, y'all. Y'all still here?
He was looking good. But
you said stop wearing the flip-flops with no shoes and a white beater, Raymond, please.
You said put on the suits. get peeling.
Never even
I think he is
checked in on that because he was awkward, but he was my awkward, so it was cool. Like this odd couple, like he would be teased a lot online, which was a part of our demise.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. Like, people don't want to be honest about these things, but honestly, if you can't deal with your woman being attractive to everybody, then you don't need to be with her. And it's given he couldn't deal with who she was from the beginning.
My ex-husband internalized social media so much.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I
believe he married me because he wanted the title and not the position. He wanted to be married to Deelishis.
Yeah,
wanted the mirage.
But he didn't want to put the work in.
Deelishis, and I was gaining all this weight. And I lost a baby, so I didn't lose the weight immediately after I lost the baby. I was still kind of chubby. My face was chubby. And I used to do so many romantic things in the house because we were in the house. It was home watch, you know, during the pandemic. And I went to do a romantic gesture in the tub, and my husband said he wasn't really feeling it. He was actually, he didn't use the word turned off. He felt like it was awkward and uncomfortable. I was putting my feet on his chest. We were on opposite ends in the tub.
Right.
And that was the fattest I have felt probably in my life in a long time.
It's always when you are willing to, you know what I'm saying? Like when you willing to let a nigga be fat, it may not be the most turned on you are, but because women aren't as visually, you know, we don't always need to be visually turned on. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times how we are turned on is energy, mental, verbal connection. And if she can overlook his body not being in tip-top shape, I don't understand how you can be looking at such a beautiful woman who is still heavily sought after and demean her. It's intentional. You want her to feel bad about herself so you can feel better, so you can feel more deserving of this woman who you know you are undeserving of. That's just what it is.
It's the idea of that. And I remember one day I was frustrated and I said something about my weight because the gyms weren't open. And he was like, well, go walk. And I just felt, but he said it in a way in which he'd been wanting to say that.
Yeah, like it just came out quick as shit.
Yeah, like I wish you would go lose weight. And so I was just like, whoa.
Did you ever say, look in the mirror?
I'm about to say.
No, because
of course not.
I never required that of him. He always was fat when we first got together. So it wasn't I would feel like a hypocrite. So I didn't.
But he's the hypocrite.
Mind, but not even because that would be hurtful.
Yeah, you didn't want. Yeah.
And mentally, what did that do for? Like mentally, what did you go through during that time? Because that's really tough when the person that you're married to isn't attracted to you, and you're married to this man, and like the world knows you're married to this man. It's not like you could quietly just be like, you know what, let's just go our separate ways. Like,
yeah,
what did that do to you in a mental state for your mental?
Well, I went through. Shout out to Yandy, that's my girl. I went through a time during that time where my face started to break out terribly. I was new to marijuana. I hadn't smoked weed. He taught me how to smoke. And I didn't know if it was the weed or the mask or what. And my aunt, who's very blunt, she was like, oh, that's stress. She's like, you a newlywed. You ain't stressed out over there, are you? And I'm like, no, because I didn't want anybody to know
your business. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the
Plus,
mask.
I had done this.
Stress in the mask.
Even with so many people saying, gosh, it's so fast. You guys have known each other under 6 weeks, he proposed, and now you're married under 6 months from that. So it wasn't that I didn't want to be wrong, but I did not want it to be wrong. I wanted it to work even for him. Like being married to him for me felt like washing Jesus' feet because of what he went through. It was like noble for me, or it felt like not like I was doing a good deed, But I would love when he was in the beginning, he was so proud. He like, I'm the king of Harlem right now. I got Deelishis on my arm. I like that he was even getting that type of pub, you know what I'm saying, because of what he went through.
Yeah.
So I
Like
thought
you was the gift.
Yeah, and that sounds
Y'all, am I stupid because I believe her over him? Like, I'm often like questioning myself. I really don't want to be someone that wants to believe women just for the sake of believing a woman, but I just kind of believe her chain of events a little bit more. I just do, because I think his chain of events lives in delusion in some manner. Like, we saw him not being responsive to her sexually on the show. So when she's talking about it here, I do believe what she's saying because I feel like I actually saw it. And I also think it's unrealistic to assume someone that spends all of that time in prison is going to come out and be able to have healthy relationships. Like, we may want to look at her like, oh, you a Taylor Slave and all of this bullshit. But essentially, Deelishis has been out here with the rest of the world being socialized to be my man, my man, my man. You know what I'm saying? And she was my man, my man, my man. He, on the other hand, you give breadcrumb from the very beginning. Like, I'm sorry. I'm a little bit more inclined to believe her. And it's just because I like Deelishis, but I also feel like Deelishis has always been like a very, upfront person. Why did she skate over the fact that she had a miscarriage? Probably doesn't want to talk about it. Probably is still kind of hurt behind it. And I don't know if she skated over it because we haven't watched the whole interview. We're just watching this part. But she says that she had not, she might have talked about it prior to the moment that we're in right now. But she does say that she had a miscarriage and that she hadn't fully lost the weight. And this is the moment he takes to send a jab at her. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just so insensitive and fucked up.
Bit narcissistic when I say it back like that, because I wasn't looking at myself like a gift. Mm-hmm. But I felt like anything that felt gifting from the circumstance by way of me that I wanted him to have.
Right. That's just feel him feel good and and you just
I felt that
you loved him, and that's what love is.
Yeah, because that's the big question that I wanted to understand, because I didn't know how long. You just said it was under 6 weeks, and then so break down that timeline real quick to us, and within that timeline, when did you feel like you fell in love with this man? Because it could have been easier to fall in love with a man outside the box because of his story and what he went through, and that's just like, you try to put yourself in his shoes, like, damn, like I don't know what I would do in this situation, but he was able to get through it. So break down the timeline of your love story, and when in that timeline did you like, man, I love this man and I would be with him forever?
Okay, so we met in August, and he kind of like, I shouldn't say put me on the back burner, but he ghosted me for 2 months after asking me on a date. But back then he did have like a tight schedule because the show was out.
Yeah, that's a red flag. He ghosted her from the beginning. He's been breadcrumbing her from the beginning, y'all. That's what it's given.
It was popular. Right. So our schedules just wouldn't link up. I thought maybe he'd come to realize
this hopeless
her
romantic
image and my image won't complement.
Yes, I believe that too.
So I just figured, I was in my head with it, and I was okay with it because my thing was,
that's like putting yourself down almost.
That's why God said, I need you to miss Deelishis since you don't respect her. Mm-hmm. Since you think so less of you, I'm going to give you a hard time getting her back. But yeah, that's an example of that. But that's my truth. And I wasn't doing it intentionally. It was just, sometimes we think like that. And I just
look, there's a lot of ways
you can show
you can show your interest, and that's just being respectable.
That's true, but you know what? That speaks to a lot of people with physical issues or with sexual.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Even picking up on that, because nobody else would even said anything about the back rub, but that did, end up identifying a lot of other things later. But I met him in August. We officially went on a date on October 31st, and it was a show that I was doing with Candy called The Dungeon.
I remember that.
Context and its content. So I felt like I'm kind of tired of him asking me on dates that don't happen, and I'm assuming that is because of my image. So I'm going to put him to the test. So I said, if you really do want to go on a date, I'm inviting you to The Dungeon, because this was the sexiest of anything that I'd ever done or would do. And there's really no sex. It's just a simulation, in the idea. It's a grown folks burlesque show, so to speak. So if he turned me down for that, then okay, we could stop playing this game. But he came.
Of course he went.
He attended. And that was our first date. And we never separated from that day. So December 5th, which is a little under 6 weeks later, he proposed.
God damn. So that has to be another red flag right there. You know what I'm saying?
Were you like looking back like 6 weeks?
Oh, yes. It was a red flag before I said I do. I had committed so many people Once again, shorting myself for the sake of others. But you know what? I'm an empath too. So, empathetic people sometimes move like that. That's not smart, but it is.
Spontaneity and just.
Or I had said yes when he proposed. So what do I look like taking that back? Because during the engagement season, I'm recognizing some things that I know I wouldn't typically.
You look like somebody that's paying attention and choosing themselves. But this is what I talk about when I say we're socialized to ignore. You know what I'm saying?
You'd be okay with.
I mean, you would be staying true to yourself and probably dodging a bullet, but some people also live and they learn.
$1,000 richer because I spent a lot of money. But
when you said yes, like, did you in your head, did you say like, yo, I love this man? Like, what was that 6 weeks like? Was it like were you in La La Land?
I don't think
you see more flags.
Type of romance. Honestly, it was me being more. Tell me if the smoke bothers you.
No, you're fine.
Bothers who?
The screen. Like if it.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
So, because it's been burning forever now, it's nothing almost because I'm afraid.
I thought you had a full blood.
I did actually have 2, but I've just been sitting here burning it off. Putting it in front of the screen. So when he first proposed, I thought of myself as one. I was 41. So I was like, I was going on 41 that January. He proposed in December. It wasn't about sex because I moved to Atlanta and I just didn't have a sex partner. So I did go through a whole year without sex and it wasn't a big deal because it didn't make sense to have sex at the time. I didn't have anybody and I was really taking care of my daughters.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, no, my daughters, because I took my at the time Lexington was 8. She didn't want to leave Michigan, but my oldest was in school in Spelman and I had opportunities going on in Atlanta. So we came here and I needed to make that adjustment good for her. And also from my first non-traditional marriage, my stepdaughter, I brought her as well. But she's been in my life since she was 2. She was 14 at the time. So when I moved to Atlanta, she came with us. So so it was the responsibility of being a mom with my daughters in a new place. So my priorities were them. I just work.
Don't worry about the smoke. You ain't got to worry about it. You can have the blunt on camera. It's all good. Yeah. So within those 6 weeks, did you see any red flags?
Yes.
What was those?
Some of them?
Oh my God, I feel bad saying them.
Look, you got to understand, you are helping women
people
out there.
Right.
You know, and
also
because he made me mad doing me how he did me, but I still.
Yeah.
She don't like to hear that.
Yeah.
She might watch the podcast.
She felt like you he played you. And
yeah, she's
put you through a lot of shit.
See, that was some real shit right there. When she said, I still love him. You know what I'm saying? That's some real ass shit, y'all. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm reading that it's real. Shantia, what are you saying? She literally got red flags from him showing her during her engagement, knowing she wouldn't like. I need you to rewrite that because I don't understand exactly what you're saying.
And I've forgiven her since because my kids don't disrespect me, but she left 2 weeks before he left because she's like, Mom, you're being a doormat and we've never seen you like this.
Wow.
That was, but that fell on deaf ears in that moment. By that time I was well into my depression and I was thin as all get out. And I was just hoping that my marriage just was not dissolving.
Right. So what were some of the red flags? But then I want to know why you still love him. What makes you still love him? But what were some of the red flags first?
Insecurity.
We're talking within the 6 weeks. Okay.
Accountability. The lack of accountability. I was starting to see entitlement due to the exoneration and the popularity that they had gained. And naturally the world would say, you know what, well, all you've been through, do what the hell you want to do in life. Take your money and go crazy. Well, that really became a mentality. Whereas like I could break a glass and not have to take responsibility for it because I spent 14 years behind bars for a crime I didn't commit. That was strange for me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I believe her 100%. I believe her 100% about him allowing the entitlement to get to his head. I do. Let me see. I thought I heard her say she ignored things from him during the engagement that she knows she shouldn't or wouldn't stay. Yeah, no, she absolutely ignored red flags. Absolutely. No, she did. The thing about it is, when you frame it with the exonerated 5 thing, I think there's an extra layer of accepting bullshit from somebody simply because of what they've been through. And that's what she's saying. She's saying, just like everybody else, she felt bad for him. And so she wanted to give him the understanding. You know what I'm saying? Like it just, I'm sorry, but her chain, like the way she's expressing herself makes sense to me. And I know we have not watched Raymond's entire interview. I honestly don't feel like putting myself through that. But do y'all want me to pull it up and we just kind of scrub through it a little bit? I don't want to spend too much more time on this story, but I am interested, y'all. Y'all let me know how y'all feel.
Because it was a far cry from the original person who I was dating, but it seemed as though at first he was doing whatever he thought I would want him to do.
Yeah. The mirage side of things.
And then his true self started to show more and more.
Well, what happened was I think that the more he knew that I really loved him, he knew that this will hurt me
Yeah, that leverage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why I tell y'all as women, always have these niggas on their toes. Always. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Always have them on their toes. Always. Don't ever let a man get so comfortable that he thinks you won't leave his ass. Okay? Now listen, y'all, I gotta go use the bathroom right quick. So we're gonna take a quick little break, and when we come back, we'll continue. And I saw somebody say they want me to go to Raymond, so we'll go to Raymond's after this. And we really only have, we only have 2 more topics. No, 3. We have to talk about Boosie. I'm gonna talk to y'all about Funky Dineva, and then we're gonna end with Erica Mena. Okay. So y'all just give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Anywhere you go, give it on. Anywhere you say, anywhere.
Okay, we're back. Let's do it.
That is just like, that's the
And he
part.
took advantage of you. So he really wasn't equipped and ready for a relationship, and he's dealing with so much trauma still. As I can,
I'm sure those 14 years behind bars played a big role.
and then reliving everything.
I don't remember.
Where the whole world gets to see it, and it gets this national recognition.
Well, he initiated that. He's definitely a ham. He likes the limelight, as you can see. See him naked all the time on the
Girl,
show.
I was gonna bring that up during the interview. I was definitely gonna be like, and if he really cares about what the internet got to say and all this stuff, I know he's sick, because when he was posting the thirst traps, the internet was
Oh
like,
my
"Ew,
God.
put it away."
Right?
So, because, mind you, and this is when you ask me, why do I still love him? Well, I've always been like protective of him.
Yeah.
And my love came before I met him. Like, I had a love outside of knowing him for, the empathy.
What he'd been through, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And I'm a mother, and my kids, even my 23-year-old, I can't imagine her being in a circumstance that she has no control over.
Yeah.
And at night she's calling for me and I can't be there.
Mm-hmm.
That breaks my heart when I think of him in such a circumstance. The idea of being beaten by everyone in the jail, from the, no, I wouldn't say the warden, but like, the security. And yes.
And being a child and going through that.
Yes.
Like,
and being terrified and being innocent and being, he's Puerto Rican, but that's still considered, a minority. You get, you know how we get things worse. So the idea of him going through that is what makes me just be like, okay, the circumstance is one that I don't even want to imagine, but when I do, it makes me empathetic.
Right.
But my ex-husband has a degree, and being in that circumstance also makes you calculated. You're forced to be.
Yeah.
To survive.
Yeah.
So not thinking about that at that time, how a person can become calculated when you survive something like that. I didn't think about how this was still wrong, what he was doing, because this was not the first wife that he had abandoned.
Right.
My marriage just lasted longer.
Oh, he was married before that.
So he has abandonment issues.
Yeah. Serious ones that he should go see a therapist for. And I'm not bashing him. I love him enough to say that that's necessary. I've always said it.
Yeah.
And did you realize he had abandonment issues before y'all got married or during the marriage?
No, because unlike the other guys, he never, even though this is a red flag, mentioned nor showed even an image of his mother on that series. Yes, she was the one that passed away while he was incarcerated. And I didn't think about it at that time. I only dealt with what we were exposed to. What we did see. Your heart fell on it so hard that you didn't
even notice.
Yes, but that's a very serious thing. When what is it about your mom that you wouldn't even acknowledge her on the biggest platform since this terrible incident took place?
Right? Do you know what that is now?
Yeah, but I didn't then, and I didn't. It's so strange to say. I didn't want to pry on. People have representatives when you're dating.
Yes.
So if you know somebody represented something falsely, that's real personal. Even like if you ask their mate, have you been penetrated by a man? That's not coffee table talk.
Yeah.
So if you don't tell me that honestly or completely,
It's
get
hard
that.
to ask.
So some things,
Yeah.
because it was such a sensitive, tumultuous circumstance, I just wouldn't bother. I would hope that as we grew, he would
You
just
would feel
open up.
safe.
So
Right.
you guys didn't have any type of therapy or anything like that together?
later after we did couples therapy.
The
it was
show.
the show. AJ told us that we should get, therapy, because at the time that we got married, it was the height of the pandemic. George Floyd, the marches, tearing up CNN in Atlanta, all of that happened the same weekend of our wedding. So nothing was available to you. Like, my dress came from a country Caucasian wedding store. I couldn't even get my dress designed, custom, none of that, because nothing was available.
Right.
So that even was with therapists, and all the hospitals were dealing with bodies and sickness in the pandemic. So,
Okay, right.
all the doctors, they later became Zoom doctors and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
So that's when it was a year in that my daughter, her dad
He's
had
48.
a therapist friend that he knew in Georgia, whatever. And my daughter was like, Mom, I think you guys should talk to this young lady. And I'm like, okay, cool. We did 4 sessions. He walked out the last 2.
It was just
He's 48, she's 45. So he's 3 years older than her. That's not a lot of age difference.
to
You know what I'm
why
saying.
would you do that?
I have to go get the kids. Hopefully I can make it back. Hopefully I can make it back.
Talk her in, negotiate.
Okay, I'm gonna try.
Okay, cool.
But Bay can hold it down. He got all the good questions.
All right.
So yeah, why'd you think? What'd you say?
I told her travel safely.
It's right. Our podcast room is connected to our crib. This is the guest house, so she's just walking around the little corner. So why did he walk out?
Ooh.
Was it getting too deep for his personal stuff, or was it basically the truth coming out on how you felt? Maybe it was making him uncomfortable.
I was stronger to break than the past woman. I was bent. People don't like when I say I was broken. I was very much so bent, but I couldn't break you. He couldn't take my talent. He couldn't take my fan base. He couldn't take my income.
Right.
Couldn't take
I see what
my
you're saying.
Very true.
So before, the way that he could leverage his notoriety as well as his money and maneuver, within his relationships with control and manipulation, that couldn't take place with me. I came with all my own goods.
Right.
So, and not only that, I was genuinely in it. So I wasn't going to buckle within the marriage. Like, I was threatened with divorce probably every month for 3 years.
Really?
Damn.
Yes.
You talking about since the start, since you've gotten officially married?
Since we got officially engaged.
Since you got engaged, how many months happened between the ceremony and
December
getting
is when he
proposed?
proposed, and we got married in June the following year, 6 months later.
Damn.
Mhm.
That was like, y'all just went right in it.
Well, honestly, it wouldn't have been that fast, and it probably would have never taken place had it not been for the pandemic. Because
Okay.
as much as my empathetic side was like, this is embarrassing to announce now later to the world that you're not going to be together. Think about your kids, think about your fans, think about him. But there were things that I was seeing that I was just like, yo, I am going to dead my heart if I go through with this, because some of the things that are happening are just, I'm going to be miserable.
What are the biggest things,
The
just because
I never knew. No, finish your question. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, because I could just imagine women, that's watching this, whether it's younger women, that hasn't found love yet, and they feel like they may get to a point in time where they see these flags and they keep going anyway, but they got to understand, why you shouldn't, there's a man for everybody, the right man, and you kind of just got to find them. Yeah, don't settle. And it's part of understanding yourself as much as possible to understand who would be right to be your counterpart. You know what I mean? So these details are very important.
They are. And I got to give this quote of conversation props to my good friend, Jason Rogers, a close friend of mine, who told me many years ago that you can't bring 50% to the relationship and assume that that's going to create a hole. Right. And I'm like, why, if that person completes me? Like, I used to be so into love. I'm like, I'm broken, or I'm sad, or my heart has a hole in it, but I want to meet that person that fills that hole. He was like, that's never going to work. Right. And I said, why? He said, you have to become a pair, not a singular. I mean, you unite like one, but it's two people. And so he said,
you have to be whole
100%. They may not jeopardize or scrutinize the person who is.
Yeah.
And they'll start to make you feel bad for your 100.
Right. They'll bring your level down to his.
Yes.
Get used to that.
Yes. It's like swallowing someone else's poison to save them, but you're killing yourself.
Yeah.
It's no win with that. And so I used to always debate that he was wrong, that you can show up at 50% and the other person will complete you. Well, no.
Yeah, that's because women believe that they can fix men. You believe that you can be loved out of trauma because that's what's been taught to you. But nobody's loved out of trauma. A person can be loved through trauma, but they cannot be loved out of it. You have to be 100%. Let me tell y'all, people may want to ignore Jada and Will, But when Jada and Will talked about having to be whole human beings themselves before they could come to each other to make each other happy, that was such gold. And y'all, me and Lyric are listening to Will's audiobook right now, and it's so good. Y'all, Will Smith's childhood is so like mine. Like what I tell y'all, we have so many similarities with our childhoods in the way we think and all of that. Like it's insane. But y'all should listen to Will's book if y'all haven't. It's really, really good. And I love the fact that this is like the first time Lyric has really like been so enthralled in a book. Like, I love it. But anyway, yes, you have to be a whole human being. Expecting your partner to make you happy is only going to leave you angry, resentful, still not getting what you need, and it's putting too much pressure on your partner. Okay, but let's continue on.
My husband was not at 100% when it came down to love. I knew when we got married that he wasn't in love with me. But based on what I had learned about him, I understood why. I knew he proposed to me with, in my mind at that moment, with the intent to learn what being in love was.
Right. But you're basically saying too that he didn't really love himself.
There you go. So that's what it was. That's why the things that I would do for him, or the way that I would create his image in front of the world,
this is
so
Charmaine.
that I thought that loving on him would teach him how to love on me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
the Bays TV.
This will give him reason to want to love wholeheartedly. Because sometimes, yeah, you may grow up in a household that's totally different than the one that you want for your future. That doesn't mean that you can't have it because you weren't raised in it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? As you meet that person that inspires a love that was internally in you and they bring it out of you, that was what I thought would happen with him. Mm-hmm. I felt like what I gave to him, he would give it to me in return. And he was always so gentle in his demeanor initially. So that felt harmless and that felt innocent and that felt.
Yeah, that's the brand that's what he looked like, not knowing anything going on in your relationship. So he seemed like a gentle, kind, and that's why I seen, I know some people say it's odd, right, but that's why I seen why, okay, maybe, why I was okay, she fell in love with this man, because that's what I got from him. I got a man that went through some shit, overcame it, he's humble, he's strong, he's gentle, kind. Yeah. And I can see you loving on somebody that is that, sincere, because all that stuff is great attributes when it comes to being a loving person.
Yes.
You don't want to hurt them. You're there, you're listening, you know what I mean? You're doing everything you want to please, so you're a pleaser. Right. So that's, if I'm looking at a man like that, and that's what kind of I've seen from him, like that's the vibe I'm getting. And then I'm like, that's the only way you got together, because it's like, you know what I mean?
See, and that statement would cause me to get in trouble. If when he reads that it got to be the money because there's nothing else there, I'm going to be bashed by him later because commenters are saying that.
And does he believe in that in any way?
Yes. And that's the worst part, because some people are bumps on the log, and just that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that don't penetrate with me because I know it's not true.
Right.
So my thing with him would always be, if they're not speaking your truth, why is it so insulting to you? Mm-hmm. Now, no, it's not comfortable to see, but then don't go to the shade room.
Right.
Don't go to these other blogs.
Where it's just very easy for that narrative.
Yeah, because you're going to later offend me, and I don't deserve that.
Right.
Like I don't deserve the scrutiny.
Same, pretty kitty.
I stopped leaving my house for the entire pandemic. Mm-hmm. My celebrity friends, they would call me granny because they you got married and just don't leave your house, or leave extra late so you can be there for a short matter of time.
Did he if you wanted to go out, did he kind of bring you down, or like?
I typically didn't go out unless it was with him, because
I don't have a specific manifestation journal. I have one, but I don't really, somebody sent it to me. I haven't used it. I just have a regular journal. And as far as candles, there's a place called House of Hoodoo in New Orleans on St. Charles that I like, that I've gotten my candles from. But I'm waiting for Black Witch Yaya Jasmine to send me a care package, because she's supposed to be sending me some stuff. And when she sends me some stuff, then I'll show you guys. But yeah, white candles, just regular white candles always work, because they can be used for anything.
My friends and I used to say that he had a sex addiction. And the reason why we would say that, and I just don't want to bash him.
Do y'all hear her?
This is not just a Raymond thing. This is men and women. So it's not uncommon. It's just not commonly discussed. But my husband would be mad if we didn't have sex for 2 to 3 days apart. In his mind, that meant you want somebody else. And so that's when my exes would come up.
Wow. So he was like, he wanted it every day.
Yeah, that happened to me. My first sexual experience with a male was a longtime friend and boyfriend of mine. And I can remember one time I had gotten on birth control. I didn't realize that my libido had went down, and I think it might have been like 2 or 3 days that we didn't have sex. And when we first started having sex, we was having sex all the time. Like, I can remember us going to Sam's and buying a box of condoms because of how much sex we were having when we first started having sex. And like, we kind of fell into boyfriend girlfriend and all of that. So, and he was never a cheater or anything, so like, I always, I felt safe. He was somebody I knew. My first time with him was amazing, the whole nine, right? So I remember one night we hadn't had sex for 2 or 3. It was 3 days, y'all. Because I'll never forget that it was 3 days, because I was like, it's only been 3 days. And he spazzed on me. Like, we got in a bed and he just, what the fuck? And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I pulled a gun on him. Because he scared me so much because of how angry he had gotten with me because we had not had sex in 3 days. This turns into a huge argument, and you're not about to punk me, is how I felt. So I pulled my gun on him and told him to get the fuck out of my apartment. We had a lot of moments like that. That was the one and only time I pulled the gun on him. But he made me feel like he was gonna hit me. Like he was doing the most, screaming and hollering. I picked up like the broom or something, like, nigga, get away from me. You know what I'm saying? Stop. It was like that. And he takes the broom, injects it from me. And so when he did that, I ran into my closet and got my gun. And was like, if you don't get the fuck out of my place. And like, I can remember like years later when we talked about it, he refuses to take accountability for how abusive he was at moments. It weren't many moments, but there were times when he completely did the most. And because I grew up in a household where my father hit, I pulled my gun on him, and he'll always remember that I pulled the gun on him. I also don't think he has went into any of his other relationships being physical with anybody.
Yes.
Multiple times in a day?
Yes. That's not even, that doesn't make him a creep.
Right.
To me, that's a man. But it also doesn't make me a whore that wants to be with somebody else if we don't have sex. That's being a woman. That's being a married woman. That's being a married woman with children, responsibilities, jobs. I took on, when we combined our homes into one. At first, he had moved in with me, but then we went and got the bigger house, and I took care of all that. I had a lot of things on my back.
But sex is people use sex. So that, I would call that an addiction. Because if both partners obviously is on that type of time where they want to have sex multiple times a day, nothing wrong with that. But there is no moderation in that. You know what I mean? And an addiction is addiction. You got to call a spade a spade. And usually when people are addicted to something, it's because they're dealing with some real shit. You know what I mean? So that's where I can see what's going on with that. You know what I mean? And then it goes down to him feeling some type of way that is not all the time, and then bringing up extra. So
value anymore in the marriage, and that was very offensive. I cook, I clean, I work, pay bills, take care of myself, took care of him. I'm Christian. My family was more than involved. I always had family involved. I'm very family oriented. So I'm not perfect, but I was an intentional good wife. I felt he deserved it. I felt
and I'm gonna just say, as somebody that has been following Deelishis for a very long time, Deelishis before him was a lot more fun. Like, she would get online and curse people out, and I would love to hear her curse people out. And then she stopped doing that, which is fine. A lot of y'all feel like not responding to people is growth. That's your journey to take, not mine. But she still would do these videos with, her daughters and her nieces and her sisters, and they would have these dinners at her house, and she would be cooking and they'd be playing music, and she'd be on Instagram live, like you just saw so much more of her before they got together. And then after that, I feel like I haven't really seen her on my timeline in the same way.
I deserved it. I felt it was attainable. We had all the elements to have it. But even having them all spelled out with all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed, if it's just not in that person, it's not. Right. It doesn't matter all of these elements you bring to the table. There's something at the surface that has to be addressed.
Right, because something's going on and not allowing him to see all that you do. And he's only focused on the things that...
It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
But it has everything to do with me being affected by it, or me being traumatized. You can't keep traumatizing women because you want this woman, but you also know that you're not in a position to fully be with this woman without traumatizing her with your insecurities, which are understandable.
Oh, why we spinning? Hold up, y'all.
That still doesn't make it right.
So from hearing a lot of this stuff too, is like the physical was everything to him.
Yeah, but that's like a passion for me.
Right. Because it goes like the type of person you are. It's not about the physical.
I
But
feel objectified at a certain point, and then he felt entitled. You my wife, but we need to rethink this marriage then. What if I ended up with, God forbid, some type of illness to where I
Right.
couldn't have sex?
Right. And we know the answer what would happen.
Yes.
So my big question is,
That was the only reason why he was messing around when I said that he had cheated. I'm sure
Don't this sound like Kimmy and Maurice?
because that has to be an addiction. I would never call a woman unattractive. That's not in my nature. I don't find anything from it. But I'm no fool, and I have eyes. This woman was not even. She wasn't delicious. Not that.
so you had real proof that he cheated, because I don't remember seeing
myself and my oldest daughter. We found the messages or whatever, and
it was on his phone.
Mm-hmm. It was in his DM.
That was the first time you had proof, or the first time you were exposed
that was the first time I even thought it existed. Not that
you didn't even know he was cheating.
No, I didn't think he. What do you want? What else do you need?
Right.
That in my mind, and not even to boost Deelishis. I just didn't see that.
It caught you off guard.
Yes, and then I'm
doing all of these things. People saying that you too good. They can't even see y'all together. You're highly attractive.
How dare you?
So it was the last thing that you thought. But
the last.
But he was very vocal though about the sexing. Was that one of the only things that he was vocal about, like the physical, sexual, like not having enough sex? Was that mainly the thing that he thought, or were there other things?
No, that was the main thing that he complained about. That was in his mind. He already made it clear that he needed sex, and that's not even a conversation for me. I thought I was a sexual person. Mm-hmm. So my love language prior to that marriage was personal touch, affection.
Right.
It is not that anymore. And I didn't even like that being taken away from me. But narcissistic abuse will traumatize you. You'll end up swallowing somebody else's poison if you care enough to deal with it. And at the
that makes me hurt for her. Y'all, like, for somebody to change your love language, it makes me sad. And it also makes me sad because I just said that I feel like we can see the difference. If you've been a fan or a follower of hers, I think you can see the difference in the way she, is now. And to say that it changed her in such a profound way. And he's continuing, you know what I'm saying? Like, this was 8 months ago, and he's continuing to today to still talk about her and, drag her online for other people's, validation. I don't know. Like, it makes me feel sad for her. Maybe I'm, maybe I'm being stupid, but it's how I feel.
Time I did. I had too many people in my mind that I was holding responsible. Mm-hmm. And once again, I was captivated by who he was, and for him to choose me. This is an odd couple. I'm not like his platform. I always thought his platform was greater than mine. So I always thought that he was the prize. Mm-hmm. So when he knew that, people will use your heart or what they know you are as a weapon.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I'm going to tell y'all again. Stop letting these niggas feel like they're the prize. Okay? All right? Now listen, my gay homeboys, y'all know I'm not talking about y'all. I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking about men in relationships with women, women in relationships with men. Okay? You are the fucking prize. You're the prize, ma'am. Okay? You're the prize. Deelishis, you're especially the damn prize. I don't give a fuck how exonerated Raymond's ass is. Even with all of that, he's still not the prize in comparison to her. You're just not. You've had something traumatic happen to you. Shout out to racism. But no, you're still not as impressive, not as resourceful, not as attractive as the woman who you've baited into this abusive relationship so you can feel good about yourself while making her feel bad about herself. Yeah, I saw about her niece. Yeah, her niece got killed. He had the nerve to act sad about it for clout, in my opinion. Oh, Lord. Yeah, I don't like him. I'm sorry. You can call me whatever you want. I don't like him.
To be able to manipulate the circumstance. So, and then for him, he felt like my image would be considered the sketchy one. So he would get away with this treatment unscathed because people will assume that he was a victim. Which is why when he left and when I announced it, I didn't get back online for a few days. I didn't know that he was letting it ride with the narrative that I left him. Like, no, he left me. And he left me a month before I actually informed the world. I can believe one, it had happened. Because the same way we looked to you guys is how I lived my life, even with the turmoil. Because for me, I knew what marriage would entail. it's not going to be perfection.
Right.
So even with the things that I was dealing with, I was willing to deal because, like I said, that was my husband. And I'm like, I can't compare our relationships to other people's said relationships or other celebrity relationships. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to leave my mate based on other people, whatever. And I know that they appear to be happy because I'm sure that a lot of marriages go through things. They don't post that.
Right.
They don't expose that. So I refused to leave him. But I took a job, and that was the turning point.
Really? Which job was that?
I took a job in Detroit. It was for 3 days on set. I was the lead character in a new movie, by the way, just dropped. Shout out to I Swear Vezo. The movie Tagged, and we just did Thanksgiving in Detroit.
Wow.
But I was turning down work because I was being threatened that if I left town, that I would be divorced.
And apparently there was supposed to be a part 2, and the part 2 didn't come out.
What's up, y'all? No filter. It's your girl Charmaine with my blue light glasses on. I'm doing my hair tonight. I know it look a little dry. Hey, everyone that is joining right now. I went on our page and I saw that we had 8,000 followers. And I was like, whoa, look, kids just joined me. Probably like, what? Who live on the page? It's me, boo. I want to thank everyone who's fucking with Marriage or Mirage. We got over 8,000 followers. Oh my God. Look, make sure y'all are, it's so crazy. I got to kind of, Meek, should I give them the tea on this week? Should I do it? You was watching? Thanks, girl. I appreciate it. I just text Travis like, thank you. Let me see. Meek, should I let him know what happened this week? Very disappointed about this, but we had part 1 with our episode with Deelishis that played last week, right? Give me a hand up. Throw me some emojis in there if you watched the episode with Deelishis. It aired last week on Marriage or Mirage. Today, we was going to drop episode 2, part 2 of our 3-hour interview with Deelishis. Now, last week, it was pretty light. Part 2, definitely juicy as hell. I mean, we had the tea, honey, all of it, okay? It was hot. But guess what, y'all? Unfortunately, Deelishis's team pulled part 2. They pulled the interview. Now, this is what I know. I know that her ex, and I'm not going to name any names, but y'all know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. I saw in his story that he was mad about her doing interviews. He was not happy. He saw the interview, he saw Marriage or Mirage, and he was not happy, y'all. So what I am thinking is he, was threatening like legal action, possibly. And they pulled part 2. Now, obviously, we got the footage, and we could have done whatever we wanted to do. We could have said, no, this is our episode for this week. But we love Deelishis. And we're not here to cause any drama in her life, right? I mean, sis spilled the tea though, okay? But we ain't here to like put her through some shit that she don't want to go through. So we decided to not air the interview for this week. Meaning, we actually don't have an episode for y'all this week. But luckily it's Christmas, right? We're gonna charge it to the game. It's Christmas. We're gonna let everybody enjoy their Christmas shenanigans. But this is what I'm thinking. We definitely got some more celebrities lined up for after the holidays. And I love these celebrity interviews, but I also really want to tap into everybody that is DMing us with their marriage problems.
Okay, so hold up, y'all. Let me find his interview. 2 days ago. I just saw it. Like I just saw his video with Eric. Let's see. Is it in the link here?
Open, but you got to really understand what happened. Where did it go wrong?
Right. So let me ask you this, because I ain't gonna lie, I don't want to go too deep.
Yeah.
But, y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I love seeing you in your situation. I don't want to say her name. I love seeing you and your ex-wife.
Let me see if I can find the whole thing. Or at least where is this Eric interview? God damn it. God damn it. Where is it? Okay, hold up. Raymond and Hannah. Eric. Eric. Okay.
You date somebody, then she got the family try to help me. Some of the brothers, you know, their moms and pops try to give me money and try to help me and keep me out. But I found out very quickly that, you know, I was a high profile case. I had all these stipulations on me.
Okay, that's not. I want to hear the part about Deelishis. How a few likes, man, like, yeah. It seems as if he's been talking a lot. Where is all of it? Where is all of it? Yeah, I'm so mad. I literally feel like I just saw. But let's go back here.
That's why I love seeing y'all doing videos. It inspired me because I was single, you know, watching y'all relationship and just being like, damn, you know, black love is beautiful and y'all were doing so much. What happened?
You know, in the beginning, you know, a person comes into your life, right? And the energy is it can be off the charts, right? And so when the energy comes, you embrace the energy because it's soothing, it's warmth, right? It's enticing. And then you also have your own energy. And so both your energies, you know, they come together and they mesh and they match. It's an explosion. And we saw that, right? So we got together and we got a lot of backlash in the beginning, right? Everybody was going at us, they couldn't understand it. And then it went from that to, you know what, they're kind of goofy together. I kind of like them together. And then by 6 months, they was like, wow, I kind of love this couple. And so it was a blessing when we got together because we both had trauma in our history. We both grew up hard. We come from, you know, unstable situations. And so when you bring it together and then it meshes and then the masses love it, it's a great formula for success. It's like the underdog story, right? We become the underdogs and then now people start to champion for us. They start to love us. And then, and so people both in agreement into it. So we went into reality TV and we did it. But then I think that what happened was, as time went on, and that energy starts to shift because now, if you're putting your best foot forward, and that's not really who you are, then it becomes a little bit of a battle to maintain that. Right. And so I had a part in it too because here I was flowing in love. Right. This was the person who I had feelings for. I was in love with her, and it was like if we make this work and we become the ultimate success story. Sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. And we were in that direction. Like we were together for 3 years and people see our lives, they saw our lives all the time on social media. You know, the flowers came every 2 weeks like clockwork. Right. There was the trips, you know, that there was the lifestyle that we lived. It was lovely, it was great. But what happens is there's also a part that's reality. And with the reality, you have to understand that we got to maintain those lifestyles. Those lifestyles become very expensive. And so what happens at this point, now it becomes a team effort because our popularity becomes so big that our kids are starting to look at business deals. Wow. So now this becomes, we can start to build some type of generational wealth, right? And so now it becomes all hands on deck. And I say this point to say that, so when you get to this point now where you can't fake it no more, right? And then this is the point where we need you the most because now you're anchor. This is how we're gonna win it. Right. And then you don't want that. So when you don't want that, you sabotage the whole shit. Wow. And so now this is when I have to go into, I'm not in husband mode, I'm in survival mode. I'm in Raymond Santana mode. Raymond Santana has been fighting against the system for years, right? Put out numerous, try to get legislation, try to change laws, try to do a lot of things, travel across the country. So I've been known as a fighter all my life. And so now the reality comes to me, it hits me and it says, all right, if I can't move forward with you, then what's the next thing I gotta do? That's a fact, the plan B. The plan B, because I still have a kid that I have to take care of, and those bills don't stop. They don't. The bills are residual. I always say that they come every month, right, wrong, and indifferent. So you know, but I started to see the behavior started to change. I started to see the shift in the energy, and so I knew that person was no longer with me, right? And so you know, I confronted that. You know, I confronted my partner. I confronted her several times, and I said, "Look, I see it. You're not here no more. You just have to be real with yourself." Right. Is this what you want to do? Are you ready for this? And so you know, then came with, you know, we had the conversation. We actually sat down and because I knew already that I was being cheated on. I already knew that there's infidelity in the marriage. I never, no matter what they said about me, I never cheated, right? I never cheated. I never stepped outside of my marriage. And there was a lot of people that was in this circle who were there. They know the truth. And so at the end of the day, when you decide that you don't want to be a part of it no more, I got to accommodate. Right. I'm an understanding person. I know what it's like to be in a struggle. I know what it's like to come from hard times. I know what it's like to fight, to be a fighter. And if this ain't for you, then it's just not for you, but it still has to move forward. And so for me, it wasn't no bad blood that we decided to go our separate ways, right? It wasn't. It became bad blood when, you know, when you start calling the police on me, right? When you try to call the police on me, when you take me to court, because now you think that you're entitled to some of my money, or you think that I owe you something, right? And this is all documented. I don't got a lie.
All of this feels like dog whistle shit. Like you just saying stuff because you know people are gonna defend you when they hear, these things. You're gonna put her in a Jezebel box, and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, look what the Jezebel, look what the slut did. She's just trying to get him for his money." All of that. Even though Deelishis has always had her own money, at least as long as she's been on social media ever since Flavor of Love, like that lady has been single for a long time and always had her own bag. So the way people continue to try to exploit that, oh, she only wants money thing, I keep telling y'all, that's not that lady's vibe. Like that lady takes care of herself, her kids, her family just fine by herself. And I just don't believe that. I also don't like the way he's not explaining in specifics. She would say I, she would say he. He's speaking in generalization so that he doesn't have to be held specifically down on any one point. It sounds like deliberate confusion. Like I'm deliberately not being specific because I don't want to have to be able to explain later if I'm called to task for what I'm saying.
There was an actual court thing. It's all documented. There's a police report. There's all that. And so now, when you decide that you want to go your separate way and you want to go be who you want to be, I can't stop that. I gotta let you go. And so and then it just gets bad because then it's like I said, I had to go to court. I had to go to court and I had to because she wanted my car, she wanted money. She thought she was entitled to certain.
Look at this nigga shaking his head. Look at this nigga shaking his head like he got something somebody want.
Things, and the judge had to tell her, no, you're not entitled to nothing because all this was established before you got here. So you're not entitled to anything. And then the tactics changed from that to when I became a narcissist, a cheater, and a liar.
You always go to that, and it's just like I always say it takes two to tango, but the first, it takes one to know one. Yeah. And that narcissist word is always thrown out so frequently and so fast, it's not even funny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The reason why the word narcissist is thrown out so much at men is because the society we live in raises y'all to be narcissistic. It doesn't mean that you're actually a narcissist, but you display very all about yourself. It's all about me. I don't care about how anybody else feels. I'm going to do what I want to do. Men are socialized to be that way, y'all. And the fact that we continue to ignore it is annoying. Men are socialized to only worry and care about themselves. The way that plays out in relationships is narcissistic a lot of the times. And I really do want to know what car. But let's
and for me, I posted a video on my Instagram, with the interview that Earthquake did on the Breakfast Club. I'm sorry, on Drink Chats.
Earthquake,
and then he said,
Earthquake the comedian?
Earthquake the comedian. And he talks about similar situations he went through with his person and how, for me, people wanted me to talk, people wanted me to say my story. Several people approached me about doing interviews, and I said no, because where I come from and the stuff that I've been through, if I went on here and bashed her and called her names and said she was this and that, I would feel like a sucker.
Right.
You're literally doing that right now.
Feel like a sucker. I'm a man at the end of the day. I have a daughter that's 19, right, who's in college. And so for me, I would have felt like a sucker to be bashing her and trying to sling mud. That's not my style, and I just felt, for me, it was nothing to say. It was just about moving on my life.
Right. And that's a fact.
Now, Peepa, he said they was doing all of these business deals. He said at the beginning, when I started playing this clip, he was talking about all the business deals that they were getting and how she had to also pay for shit, right? You're talking about how y'all are making money off of y'all's relationship. And then when you go to court, you act as if she's trying to get something that you came into the relationship with versus if she may have been trying to get what was gained during the relationship, because everything that was gained was based off of the relationship. So why shouldn't y'all have to split whatever you guys earned together while in the marriage? Because you were actually turning the marriage into something as a brand. You were using your marriage as a brand. Y'all go to court and you're saying that she's not entitled to anything because everything was there before her. But that's not what you just said at the beginning. At the beginning, you said y'all relationship was something that turned a coin for y'all. You just said that. So why is it that we're supposed to believe that she wants something from you that she didn't help you earn when you just said y'all relationship was bringing in money? Did we catch that?
But you know, one thing I learned, because I'm going through a similar situation, you know, we shared this, you know, in person before, that detachment process, no matter which way it goes, is always difficult, especially if you're used to being with the person and you see the potential where it could go and the money invested in the time. And then now I'm trying to detach because you didn't want it. You didn't see the vision that I had. And you thought you did, but now you don't. Now you're going to bash me. Now I'm a narcissist. Now I'm broke. Now this, now that. And it's like, what about all that private?
You're projecting. You're projecting. Sierra don't want you no more. Get over it, please, for all of us.
When we first got together, we was flying, we was traveling, we was doing his house, his cars. Everything was amazing. Now it's this. And
Everything's amazing.
So disappointed. We all supposed to be adults to be able to communicate. You know what I'm saying? I'm convinced you, but not even sharing it, because I'm learning. I learn every single day. I'm still growing and coming into the man that I want to be and who God called me to be. It's tough because everybody's narrative of what a man is, but we never have a safe space to talk about our emotions. It's always been tough from a child. Don't cry, suck it up. And then now you a sucker, or now we feel like suckers if we speak about it. That's why I want to talk about wellness overall. So men, we have a space to talk, and we can.
I love when y'all try to act like y'all are not just here to bash women, and now y'all finally have a place where you guys can be honest about your feelings. It's such bullshit. It's such bullshit to me. Like, you are obviously bad communicators, and then you want to get online and communicate to us that the women were the ones that weren't communicating. Am I to believe that correctly? Like, it just seems like bullshit to me. It does seem narcissistic, like what y'all are doing. It does. Because why not just move on? Why not talk amongst yourselves? You know that you're bashing the women. You know that when you get on social media and you talk about how these women just wanted you for your money and they're liars and they're cheaters and they didn't want you to let them lead. Like, these are all like dog whistles for niggas to, you know, gang up on women, to get online and be under the comments, and for all the male identified women to be, girl, because you a hoe and you just wanted that man for his money. Like, they basically dog whistle to other people to go bully these women for them. And then act like that's not what they're doing.
Let them talk, and then hopefully in due time we come to a common ground and understanding, and we all grow overall.
100%. 100%. And that's why I said, you know, when you walk away from it, I walked away from it, you know.
It reminds me of when men go to a therapist so that they can learn language to control women with. Y'all remember, what's your boy name? The white actor, Jonah Hill. What Jonah Hill did to that little girlfriend of his, I don't care what y'all talking about. That shit, using therapist lingo and calling your control boundaries. This is what that's given to me, where y'all act like y'all are just trying to help other men express their feelings. But no, you're exacting revenge on women who you're angry with because those women no longer are giving you access to them.
You know, according to social media, you know, she got the bag, but that's not the truth. That's a lie. You know, she didn't get anything out of the divorce proceedings. She didn't get anything. She got to keep her last name. She got her last name back. And she got to keep, you know, she had a car or something that we had. But that was it. She didn't, you know, so there was none of that. And so at the end of the day, you know, we walked away clean, but then there was the mudslinging, you know, I became this narcissist, this cheater and this liar. And when she started to do all these interviews, they go on these platforms and then start talking about narcissistic behavior. And then, you know, accumulated to me like, oh yeah, that's what I went through. And so it was that type of stuff that she was just, it's like, wow, you know, what can you do?
Just, you know what I'm saying? Less is more. I'm learning this now where I'm at. Less is more. And sometimes silence makes the most noise. You know what I'm saying? So in time.
Is this silence? Is this what you call silence, Eric? This is not silence. This is like your second time online crying about Sierra and projecting it onto other niggas who have mistreated their women. Kirk and Scrappy and Eric, like Kirk and Scrappy, we've seen what you've done. Come on.
When you at a place where you heal, then we speak. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, cool, I'm over it. It is what it is. Boom. It is what it is.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I learned some great things out of my situation. You know, I mean, I don't have no complaints. You know, at the end of the day, I just know that my direction is forward. You know, and I'm showing my direction, and that's the direction that I'm moving. You know, it's more to life than a relationship, a public-side relationship, because we do a lot of work. You know, and so, you know, in the beginning, people was like, you know, that's, you know, it's wrong. You need to speak and say the truth. And I was like, look, let me tell you one thing. I said, understand this. We had this, the Exonerated 5 had beef with the president. Right? The current president wanted to give us a seat. I'm gonna be real. Deelishis is not my beef. Below me, this beats me.
Right.
I'm dealing with real issues. I'm battling the president. I'm still battling people who believe that we're guilty. I'm still battling systemic racism. I'm still battling mass incarceration. right? While I'm still trying to take a 19-year-old, take her through college and teach her to be a woman, or teach her, to be a queen, from a man's perspective, from a father's perspective. Like I'm still juggling all these things.
I'm worried for your daughter. I'm worried for her.
Yeah.
You think that Deelishis rules my world? Like no, I'm beyond that, man.
Then why are you still talking about her? This is so weird. It's beneath you, my nigga.
Right.
My life,
the show still goes on. The show still goes on, and it's so crazy because I don't want to stick on that because I got a couple of questions. But matter of fact, one last question because this is similar to mine, and then we're gonna go to the next. Do you feel like reality TV played a major role in the demise of the relationship?
Well, yeah, because the pandemic. So we were both on the road at one
You left her though.
point. In 2019, when we first started dating, we were on the road a lot, and so we were making a lot of money. Life was moving very fast for us, and so when the pandemic hit, everything slowed up, right?
Again, they were making money. They.
And so for me, here it is. I'm on my thinking. I turn to I'm strategic. I turn to a strategy, right? As a man, we survived this, and so I go. We don't know how long this pandemic is going to last, right? And then, mind you, that first week of the pandemic, I lost $60,000 in business, right? I lost $60,000 in business that first week of the pandemic. So here it is. I'm going, okay, we don't know how long we're going to last. So all this money that we're making, let's stack it for the long haul because we just don't know. And the response that I got was that no, this is a lifestyle. We're going to live it. And I was like, no. So I knew at that point, like we had issues because one person was trying to stack for the women and the other one was trying to show the wealth, right? And so that was a red flag. I was already going to show you, like, I wasn't getting it. And so that ties into your question of how that was influenced from social media, from reality TV, right? I never was in this world, so for me, I stepped into it open-minded, and I was treated with a lot of respect and a lot of love, for the shows that we did. But I started to see how the influence is that strong.
Yes, very strong.
Yeah.
Wow, we gonna talk. I'm gonna say something. I'll call you after this, but.
Child, enough. I'm done. I'm done with these niggas. Cause to me, I'm sorry. Deelishis interview sounds more believable. It does. Yeah, it's weird how y'all get with these women and y'all decide to be on. So like he was just talking about how he was happy about the way social media was responding to them. And then you're like, oh yeah, I think that it hurt our relationship because we was on social media and she trying to keep up with the Joneses. Like, I just think you're playing on all of the stereotypes about women. All she wants to do is spend my money. I just think you're playing on stereotypes that don't fit Deelishis. I'm sorry. I don't feel like Deelishis is a gimme girl. Deelishis has worked Deelishis was getting up early in the morning in fucking Detroit to do a morning radio show, y'all. Like people that work like that, you know what I'm saying? And for years. She worked like that for years. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not believing it. I'm not.